Global recession signals are flashing bright red. The pre-job reports numbers coming out are downright frightening. There are now more unemployed people looking for work than there are job openings. Behind the scenes, the Fed is doing everything they possibly can to prop up this broken market. And the market is now predicting a September rate cut at 97%. But the data actually shows that if Jerome Powell cuts rates with unemployment numbers looking like they are, that we get a recession every single time. The old system is collapsing right in front of us. And you have a choice. Sink with the Titanic or get on the life raft. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. Let's go. The president tried to put on a show to instill a sense of confidence in these broken markets. He had a dinner with some of the world's top executives. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, Google CEO Sundar Pichai, Apple CEO Tim Cook, AMD CEO Lisa Su, and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. And it was working until I saw this clip between Mark Zuckerberg and President Trump. This showed me everything I needed to know about how weak the economy is.
Well, thanks for hosting us. I mean, this is quite a group to get together, and I think all of the companies here are making huge investments in the country in order to build out data centers and infrastructure to power the next wave of innovation. So it's we don't often get together as the CEOs of the different companies, but it's good to see everyone.
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
Oh gosh, I think it's probably going to be something like, at least $600 billion through 28 in the U.S. Yeah.
It's a lot.
No, it's significant.
That's a lot. Thank you, Mark. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
These sort of dinners pandering to us, trying to give us confidence that we're making big investments into America, signal that there's something wrong behind the scenes. Let me run through some signposts to show you that there is in fact smoke and possibly fire, that a recession is right around the corner. Number one clip, NVIDIA to pay $1.5 billion to rent back its own chips from cloud startup. Talk about getting high on your own supply. And when you dig further into NVIDIA, 81% of their revenue comes from just 6 companies. And 1/3 of all of their revenue comes from just 2 customers. What about this craziness from Tesla's board? The types of incentive packages that make you do bad things and make dumb decisions in light of increasing your stock price. The Tesla shareholder committee is looking to improve a $1 trillion package for Elon Musk. But this sort of stuff is peak for me. You know I love sports, I'm a former athlete, and these sorts of things always signal the top. So right now, the US Open is going on, and I was cheering for Naomi Osaka to get another major, but she lost in the semifinal to Anisimova. All right, so get this. She just signed a 4-year, $100 million sponsorship with Labubu, the global dolls taking the world by phenomenon. Can anybody say Beanie Baby? Their CEO, Pop Mart, their company is worth $50 billion, and their CEO is worth $22 billion, making him one of the 10 richest people in China. Ain't no way this dude is 38 years old. But these are the type of bubbles that you see before everything pops. But into the real data. The manufacturing ISM numbers hit 48.7. It's 6th straight month of contraction. As a matter of fact, it's contracted 32 out of the last 34 months. When manufacturing slows, the real world is slowing on top of it. U.S. employers announced over 85,000 job cuts in August. That's the highest for that month since 2020. Layoffs rose 39% from July and 13% year over year. And this is backdropped against employers only announcing that they're going to hire 1,494 people. 85,000, 1,000. Something's wrong here. The U.S. job numbers in May and June were revised down by 258,000, the largest downward revisions in 45 years. Somehow May dropped from 144,000 to 19,000 jobs being added. June dropped from 147,000 to 14,000. Here's how you know it's rough. There's this metric that they look at in the economy called the quit rate. They look at the quit rate in hard industries because when things are good, people can just quit and go get another job. One of the places that they look at this is in construction, and the quit rate is just 0.9%. This is the lowest since the great financial crisis. And they have to work and they have to find work because there's not many new homes being built and people aren't buying the homes that are on the market. As a matter of fact, mortgage applications are down 34% from pre-pandemic levels, lower than the great financial financial crisis. And that's because people are losing hope. This Reddit forum right here explains it all. In the RGNZ Reddit forum, someone said, "All I want to do is own a home and have a family. I'm coming to terms with how unrealistic it is." If you read this, he talks about himself being 28 years old. He's got rent and student loans. He lives in Philadelphia, downtown, where the cost of living is growing rapidly, and he can't make his bills. He can't make ends meet. He doesn't know how he'll be able to afford retirement. He doesn't know how he'll be able to save to have kids. Home ownership is out of reach for people like this. Fiat is stealing hope everywhere. And the charts continue to show fiat as the manipulation monster that it is. The Fed has this backdoor shadow banking system called the reverse repo. And what you're seeing is that liquidity is being drained out of markets, despite what the global M2 shows. The reverse repo facility fell to $18 billion, its lowest number in 4 years, since 2020 when they tried to prop up the markets. Since December of 2022, it's dropped $2.5 trillion. And this is all at the same time where treasury buybacks are accelerating due to a lack of demand in the market from other buyers. The US Treasury has bought back a record $138 billion worth of bonds this year alone. This significantly passes the number of $79 billion for the entire year of 2024. And this is all on top of debt spiraling faster and faster. In July, the national debt was $36.2 trillion. Fast forward to September, we've now hit $37.4 trillion, a $1.2 trillion increase in just a few months. That's $21 billion worth of debt being added every day. This is why the Fed and the Treasury are cornered. And Jerome Powell doesn't have a lot of tools in order to ensure that employment stays high, one of the Fed's mandates. He talks about this number a lot, looking at the number of unemployed workers divided by the number of job openings. Well, that number just fell below 1, meaning that there are now more unemployed workers looking for work than there are potential job openings to fill them. People can't even get a job even if they wanted to. And so, although rate cuts are predicted to be at 97.6% for September, this isn't actually a good thing, because every single time we see unemployment numbers or the unemployment rate rising the way that it is, and that we have a coinciding Fed cut, well, that leads to a recession. I pulled this data in these charts myself from the Fed website. And here's the thing, despite all of this doom and gloom, there's Bitcoin analysts out there and hedge fund managers like Jeff Ross who still believe that Bitcoin is in an uptrend, a trend that's sucking liquidity out of bonds and stocks and into hard assets like gold and Bitcoin. And he believes that we will still see more all-time highs heading into Q4 and that the bull market will be extended into Q1 of 2026.
$140,000 right now. It should be well above that based on the liquidity metrics I follow. Very surprised that it's not there. But I think, again, it's being held on by the economy. I think once the most market participants believe that the U.S. economy is finally starting to surge, I think the price of Bitcoin will skyrocket at that point. So that's just my personal take, is it's going to make up for lost time. It leaves me very bullish with where we are. Like I said earlier, for the next 6 months or so, I'm actually very bullish. If you would have asked me 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said we'd almost be at the peak of this business cycle, but we haven't even started yet. And so there's a chance we either have this massive surge higher in a short amount of time in Q4, and we still maintain these 4-year cycles, or more likely what it's looking like to me is the cycle extends into the first half of 2026 somewhere, which to me would mean the Bitcoin peak would probably extend and happen somewhere in the first half of 2026. One other thing I want to bring up is, because everybody knows that global M2 and liquidity lead the price of Bitcoin, something that I've noticed, however, is that at cycle peaks of Bitcoin price, the price of Bitcoin actually leads those other factors. So I would caution people to be very careful. What I've noticed from past cycles is that even though global M2 is still rising and kind of looking toppy, like the rate of change is starting to slow down a little bit, even though the economy is revved up and PMIs are sitting around 60 or so, and everybody is super bullish, that's usually about the time Bitcoin peaks.
If you're bullish on Bitcoin continuing to rise and to go up, well, you don't want to sell that Bitcoin. Just borrow against it. And that's why we partner with the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans, Ledn. They've issued over $9 billion worth of loans since 2018, have never lost a single cent or sat of customer money, and have over 1,000 5-star customer reviews to prove just how trustworthy and good of a platform they are. They do a proof of reserves to show that they have all of the Bitcoin that they say that they do. Get your account funded in less than 6 hours, and the application takes just 2 minutes. There's no credit check, and rates start at just 12.4%. which is about half of what you could get for a credit card today. Don't wait. Go to learn.ledn.io/simply and get 0.25% off your first loan. Another signpost as to why we work with firms like the Bitcoin Way. Your assets, if they're held on an exchange, regardless of whether you're nefarious like Justin Sun or not, they can be seized by people who don't have your best interest in mind. With the World Liberty Financial Coin, they actually freezed his tokens because there was a backdoor scheme showing that on his own exchange, he was going to offer a 20% coupon or yield for issuing this sort of token. And as they come to find out, this was just a mechanism to provide exit liquidity for him to unleash his 3% of the total supply of tokens back onto the market and drop the price. It's reported that he would have walked away with hundreds of millions to $1 billion worth of profits from this scheme. And now he's going to Twitter and saying that every true great brand must be built on fairness, and this isn't a good look for you and for your shareholders. Well, try not rugging people. But you don't have to be one of the people to get rugged, because you can just remove your Bitcoin from exchanges. You can do this privately, safely, and securely by getting a coach at thebitcoinway.com. Don't be like Justin Sun, because there will be a day when some exchange is going to say, you can't move your coins. Schedule a free 30-minute consultation with their team at thebitcoinway.com/simplybitcoin. Every week, the system continues to show that it is a sinking ship and that it can only continue to float if there is manipulation. The largest bond market in the world cannot exist without the Treasury stepping in to manipulate. And we cannot sustain a strong economy without Jerome Powell or anyone who's in the leadership at the Fed cutting and manipulating rates. And so what is the only thing that can happen and that we can do? Well, that is we can remove our energy, our time, our money, and our effort from that system into a different system. And that's exactly what Jeff Booth proposes here.
The cause of the fourth turning, the whole concept, is manipulated money that gets worse and worse and worse, because or a cause of inflation doesn't exist in a free market. And so what your question about the fourth turning, if Bitcoin stays decentralized and secure, that'll never happen again, ever. But this is going to be very chaotic. This is going to be crazy chaotic, because I would venture to say, even in Bitcoin, there's a very small percentage of people that are actually measuring Bitcoin from Bitcoin and moving all of their energy to it instead of feeding a system that's stealing from them. So why would this be chaotic? Is because most of the planet doesn't know this yet. And the same thing that's happened to you as you've taken your Bitcoin journey, same thing that happened to me, that we unlearn what we thought we knew and we learn something new, has to happen to every single person on the planet. You guys are so early in this, like so crazy early. And there's going to be the amount of chaos that's going to come to this. If for 5,000 years we've always lived in a control system, and this is for me for a long time, I felt Bitcoin would get centralized and break, until I realized I had agency. I decide whether to run knots or core. I decide I can put all of my energy into the thing I want to see in my future, for my kids, for my family, and everything else. And I can move my energy. I know this is going to get chaotic, but I don't have to feed the beast. I can move all my energy to this. When I realized that I had agency, and through that hope and abundance, that I could tell other people they have agency too, and they could move their time, I could see a path that looked so different than any other path that has ever existed.
The system of Bitcoin isn't broken. There's predictable rates, there's a fixed supply, and there's an element of it that it is accessible by anyone in the world with an internet connection. That's the sort of financial system that I want to live in. And I don't want to be waiting on jobs reports and numbers and whether Jerome Powell is going to cut rates. And when I look at the world and the economy, the exuberance at the top continues to get higher and the struggle at the bottom continues to get deeper and harder. So one of the things that we need to do is stop putting our energy and our effort and our money into this old and broken system and exchange it and put it into a new system. And that system is Bitcoin. This is Dante Cook with Bitcoin Simply. And if you haven't already done so, please like and share and subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't already got your tickets to the largest Bitcoin mining expo in the world, Mining Disrupt Conference happening in Dallas, Texas, then you should. Join 3,000 people, some of the world's top manufacturers and leaders in Bitcoin mining, and some of the top thought experts and people in Bitcoin, like the Simply Bitcoin crew. Get 20% off your ticket by using the promo code Simply Bitcoin. Don't get caught up in the doom and gloom. There's an existing system and there's a new system. Which one will you join? Happy stacking.